Parachute Regiment of the British Army, otherwise known as the Paras. This is part 2. If you've not seen part 1, look in the description below.
And carry out effective skills and drills on live firing that they will take to battalion on exercise and on operations.
Yeah, these live fire exercises are critical, right? So you get in, you're practicing IADs, you're practicing, you name the drill, but you practice a lot without rounds, and you get some blanks in play, right? And then they start throwing in some incendiaries, they start throwing in flares, and you do it at night. All this compounds, right? You sort of graduate up in grades, and then you get to live fire. It's good to watch from these instructor standpoint, watch these people grow and develop. You know, that's what makes it fun being an instructor.
The platoon are first divided into sections, with each one taking turns to assault a position. This involves one team providing cover.
So we'll call it, as you guys know, we got squads and then fire teams, right? So I'm assuming that's the same idea here. If you guys know, put it below in the description for you UK viewers. Let us know if it's similar to our fire teams and our squad. You know, what we call the same things, they just called it teams, and maybe we'll get to that.
While another has to quickly flank the enemy.
Get fucking moving now! Get moving! Get up there! Come on!
Now it reminds me of the Marine Corps I know. If you don't have some F-bombs in, you're not in the military, right? There's not a whole bunch of F-bombs and every other word some kind of foul language. You're not in the military, whether it's the British Army or the U.S. Marine Corps. God bless them.
You know where everyone is, because you're like, right, if he steps one bit forward, I've got to go forward, otherwise I could end up shooting him.
I was Grenadier for Delta Fire Team, so I had a live grenade in my pouch. That was good, having a live grenade go off.
When you get the opportunity ever to throw a frag, no less carry some frags or some concussion grenades, and you get to use them, that's one of the best feelings, just because you know you got it. Like you said, you knew we had it, knew we could use it. You know, it's in training. You know, it's still the kind of stuff you thought about when you're going in the military, right? And it makes that part fun.
Literally a few meters from you, you feel it go through you. You feel the force of it.
You feel like a soldier. That's the sort of things you'll be doing in operations, like doing section attack, platoon attacks. Like obviously you're going to be firing live rounds at the enemy and like doing all them sort of things. It was brilliant.
After an exact...
The best part, I'm sure they'll get to this when you start doing it at night. Flares are going off, lots of noise, flashbangs. You know, when the instructors are really getting after you at night, when they start participating a little bit, you know, make it a little bit more realistic, inching their way there. I'm sure that'll be coming up shortly in this training. If not, I'm sure they do it. But it definitely gets you fired up. The part that sucks after this is policing the brass. Trying to get up all the brass and the fragments or whatever else you blew up out there.
In final phase, Athens platoon are judged proficient and safe to deploy into combat. They have now successfully completed their training. The recruits have reached the end of their 28-week Parachute Regiment training course. To mark the occasion, they will march...
It's pretty slick, right? They're wearing suspenders. That's a good look. I mean, I don't know any military that wears suspenders anymore, but I think it's a cool look. Count me in.
Past their families in Helles Barracks in Catterick Garrison. It's known as the Pass-Out Parade and marks the moment they formally become soldiers. To prepare for this...
I was wondering why they call it the Pass-Out. Pass-Out Parade. I think there had to be something else besides passing out, right? Now, I don't watch these before I watch them with you guys, so I don't want to have a scripted, rehearsed acting crap. So I'll see it come up in my feed, I'll watch it, and that's what you're getting.
Ceremony, the recruits, still known as Joes, help each other with their number 2 dress suits.
Joes.
Unlike other units in the British Army, the parachute regiments only wear berets, even for the most formal of occasions.
Like they just come out front, face number 2.
That'll definitely differentiate you, you know. Instead of seeing the wings on a person's uniform, if you're always wearing a beret, no matter what occasion, you're going to stick out like a different person in the British Army.
Formalities begin with a toast.
What manner of men?
What manner of men are these who wear the Marine Beret? They are firstly all volunteers and are then toughened by hard physical training. As a result,
Private Blackledge, who's won the award of Champion Recruit, is given the honour of reciting Field Marshal Montgomery's
That must be pretty high praise to give the honorary recruit or honorary, whatever they called him. I know in the Marine Corps, if you're the honor man in anything, whether it's boot camp or in some sort of training, it's a big deal, because the instructors basically said, you're the best guy in this group, and they've seen you. And that's a big deal coming from somebody at some point is going to be your peers, right? You may be working with those guys in operation, so it's a big deal.
Famous description of British paratroopers.
they have shown themselves to be as tenacious and determined in defence as they are courageous in attack. They are in fact men apart, every man an emperor.
Every man an emperor. Every man an emperor.
Hey, if you guys know, put it in the comments below. What does every man an emperor mean? Again, I could Google it, but I do these, watch it, so it's no BS like half the crap on YouTube. Every man an emperor. I kind of think I know what it means to me, but I'm kind of wondering what the genesis is as well. Put that in the comments. Pass out.
It was emotional, very emotional, because go marching on, got a bit of lump in my throat, and then I tried not to look at my mum and dad because I knew where they were sat, and I was like, just looked up, I didn't want to look at them.
A little horse. Maybe that was used to toting a cannon back in the day or something. It's like a little tiny horse. You guys know what the horse is for? Doesn't look like it serves any purpose today, and maybe it's a mascot. I don't know.
As much as the Joes have got to get it right, we've got to get it right as well. And I've got to make sure they're up to that standard for the families, because their families are watching them. And we want to make the best spectacle of these guys as we can, and their families to be very proud.
That little horse again. Well behaved, little joker.
Athens Platoon are the latest generation of airborne soldiers.
Forgot about when they do like left face, the stomp. My experience with the British military, they were never doing formations, and it was mostly the RM, Royal Marines, but there wasn't a lot of, they weren't very, bunch of marching. It wasn't a bunch of marching, I'll leave it at that, but that left and the stomp is very entertaining.
Today's event is a public demonstration that they have earned the right to become members of the Parachute Regiment.
And on the pass out, it's like the bubble bursting, is it just there?
There's the old recruit. They probably called him Granddad. You get some of those old guys, and he's probably not that old, but you get some of those guys with gray hairs in there, and if you're a 17, 18-year-old, paratrooper, para, you'll be like, hey, Granddad, he just would be the old guy. If you're 18, he's 32, that is an old guy.
There, you've done it. And it was just an overwhelming feeling, really. Everything you've done, everything you've learned, finished, a soldier.
And yeah, your number twos, you look left and right, and we've all worked really hard to be here. Your bayonets gleaming, he just polished it and that, and you see it.
Guys notice that? So think about when you're doing drill, the old M16, right? You go left shoulder arms, what do? You jam the rifle right in there, right? And what's missing? What do they have? They had a magazine in. That's why they carry the rifle like that. That really small thing, it doesn't really matter. It's just something as a U.S. soldier sticks out of my mind.
You don't think it'll be you. I know it was a hell of a feeling, yeah.
So I just had to keep my eyes off my family while I smile. So
yeah, I'd be too scared to start smiling at my family. Obviously, you looked undisciplined. One of those instructors would probably snatch him by the back of the head and smack him with his own beret if you tried that crap.
standing on the square with them, leading them on the march past, saluting the general, it's an awesome feeling of pride.
Interesting, they have 3 squads, right? So probably doesn't make sense to make 4 squads. It's too small of a platoon, but I'm so used to looking at like big boot camp graduations or something where you've got 30 guys, 40 guys, and makes sense to maybe have 4 squads of 10. In this case, got 3. Just interesting. It sticks out. See if you guys put in the comment if that you guys noticed that. If it just looks different.
However many guys it was that formed up on day one, but to anything for you is humbling.
That's that horse
and
again.
Awesome, and it's been a very great privilege of mine to be part of it.
You know, being an instructor, I've had limited experience, but some being an instructor and different things. It is pretty worthwhile experience to see somebody who knew nothing and you thought this guy's a total turd to being proficient in something, right? Being able to accomplish something at the end. These guys must really be proud seeing them for 28 weeks or whatever it is, going from clueless young infantry guy to now being a para, right? Part of the parachute regiment.
One of the main things I remember, which just, well,
it's funny the things people are proud of, right? So you got the term Joe, which I understand came after during World War II. I think somebody put in the comments the last video, 1942, right? So these guys are very proud to be called Joe. So tradition started, and it kept going, right? And so now, when this video came out, the guy was very proud of himself to be called Joe. And those are the things that really make the military what it is. The camaraderie, the kind of unique things, the secret handshakes you've got that other people don't know about. And being called Joe. Well, no one else is going to be called Joe unless their name's Joe, right? They're not going to be called Joe in any other context that I'm aware of beyond being a paratrooper in the regiment.
Well done, Joe. And when you come off, it's well done, paratrooper.
Okay, so the end.
Paratroopers, we're going to put your fucking weapons in the armory.
So I was wrong. Before you become a paratrooper, you're Joe. Then you're a paratrooper. So like your recruit, the day you graduate, you're a Marine. Obviously, this is a little bit more complex, long training. But, it's a pretty cool thing where they're very happy to be not Joe anymore, to be a paratrooper.
Straight away, then we'll break back out, go straight up to the corridor, quick chat, right outside the block.
Having graduated from different schools in the military, you're always very proud when you finish. Looking back on it, you kind of have to look back through your paperwork and go, I did this school, did that school. You don't realize it because it goes by so fast. It's so intense when you're in. That's a long one, a little different, but you've got boot camp, infantry training, whatever other schools you do in the military. It goes by quick, but you look back and you remember it, especially when you watch this kind of stuff. That's what it does for me. And your family will always remember it. They'll remember the day these guys graduated, became paratroopers, paras, and not Joes anymore.
Some of these people who rocked up on day one didn't know how to say please or thank you, and now their families are telling us that he's polite. He come in and make me a cup of tea.
That is one thing about the military. You could take someone that's a total dirtbag, right? Doesn't have a clue about manners, respect, and the military can instill that in them. Hopefully it sticks. Hopefully you leave and you know how to say yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and know when to keep your mouth shut. That's hopefully what the military does, and that's what he's saying. Hey, they came here as dirtbags, and now they were leaving here with their spine straight, their head up, and know how to address people, like a grown man.
He does his own washing. We're not only change a person in that way, so we've got a potential killing machine. So, everybody's happy.
I still love it. I don't care if they're from the UK, or they're from Thailand, or they're Gurkhas. Mission men, right? What's the mission? What does the military do? Break things and kills people. That's what it does. So every time you get outside the scope of that, you're getting outside the scope of what they're trained to do. They're not trained to be humanitarian peacekeepers. They're not trained to drop water wherever the hurricane's at. There's other people who do that. But the pairs don't. That's what he's saying. Trained to kill people. Unfortunately, that's the job these guys have, right? Put that below. How do you think the military's been misused in the last century? No less the last 2 decades. Where do you think it's been misused? Put that in the comments. Could be hurricane, it could be, you name it.
I think I'm a lot better person now. I respect things a lot more than I did.
Where you grow up the most is patience. Because you can't do things when you want to do them in those kind of long training scenarios, or in the military in general, right? You do it when you're told, you do it how you're told. And the patience being, you can't just say, you know what, I want to buy that tomorrow and Amazon's going to drop it. Whatever's going to happen to the military is going to happen on the time of the military. Hurry up and wait. That probably does it. Hurry up and wait. How many of you guys got patience from hurry up and wait? I know I did.
Today at Hardwick Hall in Derbyshire, veterans of the regiment's campaigns in World War II are joined by their newest descendants in Athens Platoon to remember and celebrate their actions. It's a chance for the young men to meet fellow paratroopers. They are now part of the airborne family and will be expected to uphold its...
Figure those guys probably jumped in during D-Day, Battle of the Bulge. The list probably goes on and on where they jumped in. And, they're figure this too. They're jumping in with planes with analog, navigation. They know where they're going, but there's not a GPS sitting there or radar. They kind of know. How they did it, I have no idea. I'm sure a lot of paratroopers, allies, and the enemy alike got dumped in the wrong side of somewhere, because it must have been hard back then, they're talking about World War II, to get put on the right LZ.
It's traditions.
To talk to the person that helped establish your regiment, that you have now fought so gallantly through training.
Legacy is a big deal, right? That's what he's saying. Legacy is a big deal, in particular in the Marine Corps. History, tradition, and legacy, and carrying on the legacy. It was a big deal when I was in. The Marine Corps prides itself in that, knowing the history, carrying on the tradition. It's one of those things I noticed with these guys too, them talking about, hey, it's your turn, here's the torch, here's the baton, you carry it on. Don't screw it up. I think a lot of small units are like that. The Marine Corps seems to pride itself in that. I'm sure there's plenty of units in the Army and other ones that have that same sort of commitment to upholding the legacy and building a new legacy and carrying, continuing the fight, right?
After the fall of France in 1940, Prime Minister Winston Churchill ordered the formation of an airborne force. Hardwick Hall, the former home of Elizabeth,
and what they achieved, and to let them look at the stand.
It's a nice place, but back, you figure 1940, they're taking whatever they can get to get people, and this is a new thing, so think about it. You want to join this unit, then we're going to jump out of planes, and it's brand new. I can tell you right now, don't sign up for that one if it comes out. You figured in World War II, that's critical. You were thinking of yourself as a hero, and they were. Like I mentioned before, jump out of planes, and hopefully it's good visibility, because the pilot may not know where he's dropping you. He's got a rough idea on a map and speed, but there is no GPSs. Unbelievable.
And it doesn't change. The war might change, the times might change, but the standard will never change. And we need the same determination and grit as they had back in the Second World War.
Many never to return.
Yeah, keep the standard, right? Keep the standard. That's when they talk about whatever PC stuff's coming down the pipe from the whatever administration. Again, I don't care who they want to let in to the Marine Corps infantry scout sniper. Keep the standard. You got to hump the gear. I don't care who you are. If you're 4 feet tall or 8 feet tall, man, woman, whatever, keep the standard. Don't change the standard for some culture, because at the end of the day, there's a mission, right? There's a mission's got to be accomplished, and there's a standard for a reason.
It holds a very special place in the heart of the Parachute Regiment. The young men of Athens platoon have taken on the biggest challenge of their lives. From the
You figure these instructors have seen them go from guys showing up that don't know much about it except they read on a recruiting poster website, to now being, truly paras in the regiment. It's a pretty big deal.
The moment they arrived at Catterick Garrison, they were left in no doubt that parachute regiment training was one of the toughest tests in Britain's armed forces. And mental robustness to join the regiment.
Keep it up, good.
Many would suffer injury and be...
That's the thing about these kind of dynamic training, especially the length of this. I would say probably the length is probably the biggest killer. You're going to have injuries, and guys are going to get rolled back. Nothing you can do about it. So I don't know how many, if you started with 100 guys, how many original graduated from this Athens company, right? Put that below what you think. So like they talk about SEAL training, where it's a, 20% fail, whatever the failure rate is. It's a big failure rate. It's such a long training that you may start off with one class, you get rolled because you tore up your knee, and then you get rolled because of swim qual. You have these long trainings. It's tough, I would say, physically, even on these young, healthy, robust athletes.
Be compelled to start rehabilitation further and further to achieve their ultimate ambition. Out of a starting number of 34 recruits,
here we go.
Only 8 have made it to the very end of this one course.
Wow, so what do you say, 34 to 8? So you figure, do the math there, that's a big attrition rate. 75% rough math in my head. Now, a lot of them may got rolled back, but I would say, you figure if you make 30% graduate in total from the beginning and to get rolled, that's probably a pretty good number. It sounds like the attrition's substantial in this.
And can call themselves originals.
Yeah, I would say, never having been dropped from training, any type of training I've been involved with, that was probably my number one fear. I'm saying boot camp. I never did a training that was 6 months, basically, all in one swoop. I've done a bunch of smaller ones, but not 6 months. Saying that, just in boot camp, I was concerned 3.5 months that I did not want to get rolled, right? I did not want to get rolled and be there 6 months. I can't imagine how these guys feel. You could be there a year in some of this training. Some of those guys in those Buds videos you see get rolled, and they're about a year in training all of a sudden before they even did a day, real life stuff.
And you want to make sure everything's perfect, cap badged in the right place.
It's like wearing body armour. This is my body armour, this is my shield.
It's good to finally wear it. Putting it on my head that first day.
Hey, if you guys like what you're watching, please subscribe and put below what other videos you'd like to see me do a commentary on. Thanks for watching.